Assalamu alaikum and good evening. I'm your host Kana Meher. Welcome to another episode of Health is Wealth. As you know that in the program we give you expert opinions on how to tackle the health issues, how to prioritize your health issues. Today we also have selected a very significant subject, and that is disease prevention. And for that we have Dr. Hassan Arooj with us in the studio. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you very much, and assalamu alaikum, everybody.
Dr. Arooj Hassan is the Director Health, DJ Health Services in Islamabad. And also with us, we have a very young, bright student in the studio, and that is Muhammad Yahya. And towards the end, we'll of course be talking to Yahya. Welcome to the show, Yahya.
Yes.
Dr. Saab, it's lovely to have you here. It's our pleasure. And the subject that today we have selected is disease prevention. So I'll straight up and ask you the question, if you can define prevention for our viewers.
Right. Thank you very much, firstly, inviting me and choosing this topic, because this is, I think, the backbone of health. Before I jump on to prevention, I would define what health is.
Right.
The definition of health, according to the WHO, is it's a state of complete physical, mental, social, and spiritual well-being. So when we talk of well-being, we are talking of physical fitness, mental fitness, social fitness, and
Yes.
spiritual fitness.
Right.
I'll go to the background a little bit.
Right.
In the early 18th centuries, I mean, when the inventions were at their peak, and early 19th century, when penicillin and other preventive efforts were being made by the researchers, especially after the Second World War, vaccines also came into being.
Right.
So vaccine give you a concept of prevention.
Right.
I'll talk before that. Preventive health is about keeping disease away from your body and from your life.
Right.
So what is the sense of getting a disease, getting ill, admitting to a hospital? Because it has social costs, it has mental costs, it has economic costs. I mean, there's a
Absolutely.
huge burden on the pocket of the person who is sick and
Right.
ill. There's a huge burden on the family.
Right.
People who are on daily wages, they have to quit their job,
Right.
and maybe they lose their days of work, and they're earning for that day.
Right.
So this is the importance of prevention, and prevention is not a new concept.
Right.
This concept goes back to thousands and thousands of years back, when even in the days of the Greeks,
Right.
there were certain herbs which were used to prevent certain diseases.
Right.
So preventive and promotive health are very closely interlinked with each other. In a nutshell, we are saying that why to get sick, why to get ill, and increase our lifespan and with happiness.
Right. Dr. Saab, you've mentioned a couple of very interesting and important points. I'll of course come back to that. But also it is very, I want to know about some of the chronic diseases that are prevalent in Pakistan. Because as the WHO statistics are that almost 42% of deaths that happen in Pakistan are unfortunately because of these chronic diseases. So if you can list down those chronic diseases and talk about that.
Hina, it is again a very crucial question. We must all understand the people, the government, the policy makers, and everybody, because health is a subject which is related to a child, to an adult, to
Absolutely.
women, to men. Everybody who is alive needs to think about it. Pakistan is unfortunately, I must say, suffering from double burden of disease. What do I mean by double burden? There are two sets of diseases. One are the communicable diseases.
Right.
One is the non-communicable diseases. So, and another set is acute illnesses and chronic illnesses, as you just mentioned. Chronic illnesses are those which are either not treated or maltreated or partially treated, so they become chronic.
Right.
So what we are talking about in Pakistan, in terms of Pakistan, is that we have diseases which have causes because of unhygienic conditions like typhoid, cholera, malaria, dengue fever, polio,
Right.
diarrhea, even pneumonias, which communicate from person to person, which communicate from animals to person, which communicate through food, or waterborne diseases or
Right.
through sneezing.
Right.
The other set of diseases is they are not communicable from person to person when they come in touch with each other. However, they run in families.
Right.
And not only that they run in families, they also are associated with your lifestyles,
Absolutely.
with eating habits, with what time you wake up in the morning.
Right.
What do you do the first thing in the morning?
Probably we're just checking our phones first thing in the morning these days.
The phones first, everybody, kids are
Yes.
checking the phones, the adults are checking
Adults are
the
checking
phones.
the phones,
What
yeah.
time do you go to sleep at night actually? So, lifestyle diseases, they actually lifestyle is associated both with communicable and non-communicable diseases. So, unfortunately, as I just mentioned, Pakistan had, because of its socio-economic conditions, and a burden of those diseases which are communicated. But on the other hand, the non-communicable diseases which also become chronic.
Right.
And they are hypertension, high blood pressure, diabetes mellitus,
Right.
heart diseases, cardiac diseases, then stroke. You'll be surprised to hear that just a couple of days back, I was talking to a young neurologist in Shifa International, and he was mentioning that there's an increasing prevalence of stroke in Pakistan in young people.
Yes.
Imagine a person gets stroke and get hemiplegia. His hemiplegia
Yes.
meaning his right foot and right hand is not working.
Right.
He's sort of disabled. Now the level of disability, either he's able to go to office or he's bedridden. He or she is
Right.
bedridden. I mean, the entire life changes. It's another world of disease
Absolutely.
now. And not only for that person, but for the entire family.
Right, right. Dr. Sir, because you've mentioned, if I take a couple of points to what you've been discussing, you talked about the socio-economic impact, and you've also done a very interesting research on Islamabad health equity model that is more anthropological in nature. If you could share something with that, and also if you can link that to the prevention model.
Right. As I was mentioning you the background before the program, because when I took over as head of public health Islamabad, I really didn't know where to start with.
Right.
Fortunately, I got a seed money from WHO and we were able to conduct a research. So for that research, what we did was, I wanted to develop a model
Right.
which is comprehensive, which is for everyone, and which encompasses everything. It was a bit too ambitious for me to think on those lines, but Allah helped me. And we took about a sample size about 780 households, in which we took two very poor sectors, two middle class sectors, and two rich sectors.
Right.
People who have their salary from, this research you are mentioning was done in 2013-14.
Right. Right.
But now we are conducting a fresh research to see what impact our interventions have made. So I'll mention about this research. People having salary of 4,000 to 1,400,000,
Right. Right.
they were in the sample size. And we divided the entire population into three areas: urban areas, rural areas, and urban slums.
Right.
Because the socioeconomic conditions, the hygienic conditions, the level of awareness could be different in different classes.
Right. Right.
A person may not know what is the significance of washing hands before eating.
Right.
A person may not know what is the significance of boiling water, or water could also spread diseases.
Right.
So, and the indicators which we choose they were the environmental indicators, socio-demographic indicators, health indicators, economic indicators. And the disease pattern, I mean, there's so many things which is not possible to share in this short time, but a couple of very interesting things, that eating habits, for example, the middle class was thinking that eating meat is much more healthy.
Healthier, yes.
And the lower class was also thinking this thing. However, in the upper class, there was an awareness
Right.
that meat is not healthy, but they could afford that. So they were taking meat-like
Right.
products.
Right.
So the incidence of cardiovascular diseases diabetes and hypertension was much more in the upper class.
Right.
The lower class, by virtue of their affordability, they could not take meat. So, but they were not really happy in taking vegetables. They think that it's a poor man's diet,
Right.
although it is not.
Right.
Vegetables is a very healthy food, and mind you that it's food is your food is what you are.
What you are.
What you
Absolutely.
eat is what you are.
Absolutely.
So, and likewise, the age of marriages, because marriage is very much associated with the complications.
Right.
It is, maternal mortality, infant mortality. In simple words, what I say is mother's health, infant health is associated with the age of marriage.
Right.
A young girl getting married at an early age may not have so much of strength and immunity and knowledge
Right.
also
Right.
to conceive pregnancy and to go about things. And so in the lower class they were marrying at a very young age, even from 14 to 16, 17 years of age.
Right, right. And Dr. Saab, since, I would also like to share this with the viewers that research today is the key in any subject area. And of course, health is for everyone. And when we say health is for everyone, and because the research also reflected it, that whether it's sociologists, whether it's anthropologists, everybody needs to come together. So let's talk about the stakeholders now. A mother is a stakeholder, an individual is a stakeholder, a teacher is a stakeholder. So how to prioritize health, and of course how to ensure that we need to invest in the right kind of lifestyle.
Right, right. Just before this very pertinent question, I'll just complete that smoking, for example, was prevalent in all the three classes.
Right.
The chronic diseases which you mentioning were in the upper class, and the communicable disease in the lower class. Access to medicine was definitely more for the upper class. Vaccination, very interesting, was more in the lower class than the upper class.
Right.
Because the government focus changed from the upper class to lower class, so they made vaccination more easily available to the people living in slums.
Right.
And assuming that the upper
Right.
class will automatically get their children vaccinated, but the research showed that there was a shift.
Shift, okay.
So coming to your other question, the philosophy of health provision has changed now, and your question is linked with the most latest dimension of health.
Right.
Health is not a subject which is dealt by the doctors only. It's not a patient-doctor relationship. When we talk of preventive health, even if you talk of curative health, health is something which has to deal with your education level, with your food, as I just mentioned,
Right.
with clothing,
Right.
with the environment around you, mental health, emotional health. If a person is subject to continuous environmental pressures.
And Dr. Saab, sorry to be cutting you down, but I would also like you to stress upon the fact that Pakistan has gone through a 3-decade of mental stress in terms of dealing with terrorism and how that has impacted our mental health, our young children especially. So if you could add that component into your answer.
That is
as
very
well.
important. I mean, the country you are born, the way you are raised, the schooling you have done, the teaching your parents have given you, the teachers, the type of teachers you got, that affects your personality, that is your psychological health. I mean, you have mentioned very pertinent point that a child born in a country which is confronted to terrorism for about 30 years, and day and night on television or around, he is looking at blasts and deaths.
And Dr. If I share that, when we were growing up in the 90s, we never even knew the word terrorist that existed.
Right.
But now when I talk about to children, when I'm like interactive with children, they actually know because, drills are happening in the schools.
True.
And they actually know the word, what is a terrorist. So, these are dangerous times that their worldview is completely different from what our worldview used to be.
Exactly. And so much of media and communication, children are looking at television and they're sharing what the adults are sharing, getting communication. So coming to your basic point that health is, now we call it socio-economic determinants of health, meaning by health is associated with the economic status, how much somebody can afford clean drinking water, for example.
Right.
Good healthy food, for example, accessibility to healthcare, hospitals, or availability of the hospitals. So it is related to socioeconomic conditions, it is related to environment. In an atmosphere where you have smoke,
Right.
and in a place where things are burned, a plastic is burned daily. I've seen in the slum areas where they get all the garbage and they burn it. Plastic, for example, burning of plastic that cause cancer.
Right.
So it is related to the environment. Health is related to the type of education I just mentioned. I mean, it's mental health. Children which grow up in a very stressful condition, or maybe sometimes single parent children, they become very sensitive to certain things.
Right.
I mean, I'm not saying that there's something abnormal about it, but definitely some ingredients in the personality are incorporated with your lifespan. How do you spend your lifespan? So socioeconomic determinants I would say justice system in the country
Right.
is very important. If a person is not getting appropriate management or treatment in the hospital, and the justice system is working, the doctors will make sure that nobody gets annoyed
Right.
while they come to the hospital. That is
Absolutely.
prevention of ignorance of a patient.
Absolutely.
So justice system is very important for me for a good, healthy society.
Absolutely. And viewers, this is something which we need to keep in mind. Health is wealth, truly. And if all of us would come together, work together, whether it's the media, whether it's a mother who is sitting at home, we need to educate our young children to ensure that we prioritize health. And Dr. Saab, another thing that comes to my mind is that's the mental health, which I specifically want to touch upon the fact. Today, people are going through depression, there's a lot of anxiety, and mental health is something that is not easily identified as well. Where there are a lot of taboos associated with it. With other diseases that we mentioned, as soon as you develop a condition, you immediately rush to the doctor. But with mental health, people are still very hesitant. So if you could shed light upon this idea that why this hesitation is there and how to make doctors more approachable, how to reach to the right kind of care when it comes to mental health.
Right. They brought two major, actually, classes. One are neurotics and one are psychotics. But I will not like to go into the technical aspects because definitely I'm addressing to the audience which must understand. Mental health starts from the childhood.
Right.
According to the Freud, the personality of a person gets completed in 6, 7, 8 years of age.
Primary
that is why
social
Master Yaya is here.
Yes.
And he will shed some light on what do you think about health and everything. But mental health is so important. I mean, physical health could be controlled by medicines, by surgeries, but mental health is something to do with the psychology, with the personality.
Right.
So, but there are certain broad. One are the people who who get depressed, who get dementia or schizophrenic, and you have medicines for them. But there's another entity where you have personality disorders, which are hidden, which people around us, they're working, but what is going on inside them? They are depressed, or they're too sensitive, or maybe non-sensitive at all.
Right.
So these are borderline personality disorders. And again, I'll go to the childhood, that the brought up of the parents, the investment of the teachers, the work of the teachers, the environment a child gets, or even if a child is subject to pressures, how the parents and teachers are imparting him to react or to respond to those pressures around him.
Right.
This is very important.
Right.
I mean, they are role models.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So if a father gets panic in front of the children, so they think that it is the routine, and in this situation, getting panic is not bad. So I think parents and teachers and all of us have very important mothers especially,
Right.
very important responsibility towards child's personality and mental health. Secondly, I would say that I think we should develop some sort of a sense of special kindness towards people who are mentally disturbed.
Right.
It's not in their hands. If a person is depressed or is psychotic or a neurotic, that is beyond his or her control.
Absolutely.
So, we should not label them that they are, we call them in Urdu, the pagal hai.
Right,
This
right.
is absolutely wrong.
So empathy is the key.
Yeah, that's right. That's the key. And empathy to everybody, empathy to a normal life. And one who's mentally sick
Right.
needs special empathy.
Right.
So it's more the responsibility of the society
Right.
than that, because that person's normal behavior is not in his or her hand.
Right, right. And Dr. Saab, because since we're talking about empathy and awareness campaigns are very important and significant when whether it's creating the need and to educate people regarding that. So how would you see the role of education campaigns that students can lead out to? What are the things that the civil society can actually do to promote these mayas?
Yeah, health promotion is another area where we wanted to touch in the beginning of the program. We talked about it. All of us whom Allah has given health, we have certain responsibilities towards society. And one of the responsibility is sharing the grief of the rest of the people who are sick. And one of the ways of sharing is to impart awareness. So campaigns, taking part in campaigns, volunteering yourself. I think we are a very good nation when it comes to disasters and emergencies.
We're a very resilient nation.
We are a very resilient
Yes.
nation. But we should develop as a nation, we should develop a personality of being responsive than reactive.
Proactive.
Proactive.
Yes.
We should not wait for a disaster or an emergency or somebody to bleed and we are giving blood. We should start thinking of how to prohibit ourselves, how to incorporate ourselves in awareness campaigns against polio or dengue or mental health awareness or communicable diseases or keeping good hygienic conditions within the society. And students and civil society, I invite everybody from the forum of, we have developed a forum under the Directorate of Health Services, Metropolitan Corporation, Islamabad, the Forum of Public Health, to join hands with us. We call them Friends of Public Health.
Whereas, of course, Friends of Public Health, and this is something we all need to see. All of us can do something to promote health, and we can all take care of each other. We need to make a more inclusive society. And now, as we know, in the beginning of the program, we introduce you to Muhammad Yahya. And since Dr. Saab has also touched upon that, it's very important that young children should have this awareness, and they also need to talk about health issues. So we'll take Yahya's viewpoint now, but before Yahya, I'll take your viewpoint on health. If you can introduce yourself, and also if you can share with us that what do you want to do in life?
Yes. When I
Introduce करवा लो अपने आप को. I am Muhammad Yahya.
I am Muhammad Yahya bin Hassan Uruj. I am in class 3 in Islamic Convent School, F8 4, and I like to read, which is also very healthy for people. And when I grow up, I like to be a fighter pilot.
Yahya, so why do you want to be a fighter pilot?
One, I want to defend my country. Two, I like thrill about being a fighter pilot and flying a plane. Three, I want to have an active life and a healthy life.
Right. And viewers, I think this is the most important message that we can get, that if you want to do anything in life, whether you want to become a fighter pilot or a teacher or a doctor, if you do not have a healthy lifestyle, then of course, nothing would materialize. So health is at one side and all the other things are at one side. So if you want to do good in life, as Yahya has said, if you want to achieve your dreams, you need to take care of your health, you need to take care of your body, your mind, and your emotional well-being in that way. So Dr. Saab, since we're almost like we're going to be finishing up the program soon, some of the questions that are coming to mind is, of course, I would like to highlight was the gender aspect. Earlier on, we were having a discussion on equity and fairness. So when we talk about men and women, And of course, we've overall discussed disease prevention. So how, I would like to say that if you can stress upon that, what women need more as compared to men.
Just before that, I think there is a problem going on in the society, which is the applications and the computers.
Yes.
I would like to listen from the Yaya. What do you think about just sitting on the computer and not doing any exercise? What do you think about that?
That is not good for your health, and now I realize that there's more to life. Now I also read books and also make stories.
But what about sitting 24 hours before the computer?
I told you before that that is not good for your health and you should not do that.
Absolutely, viewers. Yaya again has reminded us about a rather significant point, and that is that, you know, earlier on, me and Dr. Saab was also touching on the fact that the first thing that we do in the morning is that we completely just check our phones. So it's not only children, but it's the adults who are also guilty of it. We do not exercise enough, and there is a lot of screen time. If you all, like, you know, check the component of screen time on our phones, you can actually get that statistics.
That's
and we
right.
all would be guilty of it. So Yaya, thank you for that. And rather, another important point is the culture of reading, which Yaya you mentioned, which is something which is very close to my heart. I'm a reader, and it's very important for children to read now. So
Coming to that
Yes.
point, I think that's very important, because in a developing society like ours, where education is less, gender issues they become vulnerable, high risk. So when we talk of high risk population segments of the society, they are old people, disabled, and also women discrimination
Right.
in the society, the prevailing. So it is not just overnight, it's a culture, it's a history which is going on. But I think things have changed quite a lot, and they are changing very quickly, and it has an impact on health. If we do a research on hemoglobin of men and women, normally the women are anemic, and they don't care, by the way.
Right.
They are anemic, and the households don't care they are anemic.
vitamin D deficiency is another
Exactly.
common thing in the South Asian women.
That's right,
specifically.
women especially.
Yes.
So the gender-specific diseases are very common, and they are preventable, by the way.
Right.
Giving awareness to the households, to the head of the household, to men, that this is the importance, and mother is so important. I mean, in life, I am raised by a single-parent mother. I lost my father when my mother was 32, and she raised us up. And it's so important. The women's health is core to the society.
Absolutely. And Doctor, lastly, you know, sometimes when you talk about prevention, but how do you actually select the right doctor for you? This is one question, idea that you know, people are gauging with. We're thinking about it. Of course, there's technology as well. We started to like Google a lot of things about, you know, we try to check our own symptoms that way. But you know, how at the right time, how to seek that right kind of help?
It's a very difficult question, actually. The thing is that, firstly, my message would be that have preventive measures. One apple a day keeps a doctor away, so no need to. But however, you get sick as well. The best would be the doctor who knows you well, who can give time to you.
Right.
I would say a doctor who gives time, who examines a patient. Unfortunately, your young doctors are not examining patients. They are very technology oriented. The moment patient walks in, they started writing investigations, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10. I mean, when we were young, we used to thoroughly examine, take history. Believe me, 80% of the diseases are diagnosed by a good clinical examination and a thorough history. So give some time. So a doctor who is giving time to the patient, he's a good doctor.
Right. And Dr. Saab, of course, you know, there is a lot of stress upon the fact that of taking the right medicines and all these things. But what about some of the home remedies that you would, you know, suggest as a doctor? Because I think that what our viewers would also be listening, would be interested to listen to.
Yeah, I mean, there's an indigenous knowledge in this.
So do doctors really believe in the indigenous knowledge, or it's completely scientific and objective
I'm
for
a
all
very
of it?
broad-minded doctor,
Right.
and I don't reject Ayurvedic or even homeopathic as a
Right.
science. But
Right.
the issue is, people who are practicing these homeopathic medicine, they are not qualified. So if you get a good it's a science. It's a German medicine, homeopathic. In Pakistan, unfortunately, I mean, everybody has a license to practice anything. So there's a chance of maltreatment from other. Herbal medicine is wonderful because number one, there are no side effects of the medicine. And this knowledge of our fathers and grandmothers and grandfathers, like turmeric, haldi,
Right.
it has an antibiotic effect.
Right.
Like, I mean, certain types of green teas and leaves in it and green leaves, they have a very good effect. Isogel husk, I mean, all these herbs, if you make them a habit daily, they will not harm you, number one, no side effects, number two, they'll prevent you from various diseases.
Right, right. And Doctor, of course, lastly, the importance of physical exercise. That
Right.
is something, you know, because earlier on, message that Yaya has given, I would also like to connect that message with it, because today, of course, we are mostly spending time in our cars with modernization. If there is a lot of comfort at the one end, but the physical body is also taking a toll in that way. So the benefits of physically being active and making exercise a prevalent part of your lifestyle.
I think my last message would be two things: healthy food and physical exercise. I mean, they will prevent you from lots of troubles in life.
Right.
It is said that people who want to reduce weight, they sometimes call me. I say that 70% is your food and 30% is your physical exercise. Non-exercising person sitting on the computers or taking cars to everyone, try to find a way to get in. You need a bahana to walk.
Right.
You need an
Right.
excuse to walk.
Right.
So park your car or a vehicle a bit distance from the shop or wherever you go, from your office, and just try to walk. That increases the blood circulation.
Right.
And actually, not only blood circulation, that excretes certain toxic materials from your body.
Right.
So it is recommended 20 to 30 minutes daily physical exercise. And the formula is 100 steps in 1 minute and total of 1,000 steps in half an hour.
Right.
That will make your body, your heart, your liver subject to your exercises benefits.
Benefits, right. Another thing that I would like to ask you is that, you know, when you're studying in school, so how much your teachers talk about, like, you know, health? Do they talk about hygiene? Do they ask you to, like, you know, wash your hands and all those things? So how much do you think, like, your teachers stress upon this role?
Well, teachers always ask us that every day. They ask us that if you have take a bath, wash your hands, brush your teeth. Well, sometimes kids don't listen.
Right.
And that teachers don't like that.
Teachers don't like that. And Dr. with this, you know, Yaya's point, I would like to take your comment on this fact that how important is to add a health curriculum, health in our curriculum as well, you know, like a specific subject that actually educates children, apart from just studying biology in that manner. If we could like have, you know, an awareness regarding environment and having like a general civic curriculum which prioritizes health.
I think that's a part of personality building. It's good schools which want to impart life skills in children, like Yaya has just said. The teachers should also develop a mechanism how children should listen. So if they are giving education to you, but you are not, or your fellows are not listening to them, so I think they should develop a mechanism
Right.
to make sure. And curriculum development, I think life skills, hygienic conditions, healthy lifestyles. If from the very beginning of the age of Yahya, if teachers keep on the importance of healthy lifestyles and how much these lifestyles contribute to your personality, to becoming leaders in the society, to performing well in academics. If you want to become a pilot?
Yes.
So if you want to become a pilot, so do you think that you want a sick man can become a pilot?
I don't know.
So if you want to become a pilot, what should you do?
You should stay healthy.
Right,
Yes.
there you go. So, you know, I mean, this is the way the teachers should, an indirect or direct way. And curriculum, I 100% agree. And right from very childhood.
Right, and Dr. Saab, of course, you know, earlier on we were also talking about the fact that you've done your undergrad from abroad and you've spent considerable time around there. So if you can just like see that, you know, what are the differences in the developing and the developed part of the world? How do we need to like focus on that, the developing world? Because, you know, when you talk about public health, a lot of other things come into the forte as well. Pakistan, of course, now has a dichotomy in the public and the private health. So what are the learning experiences that you have gauged from there, and do you think that, you know, that can be applied there and could be overall a better health model for the society?
One of the things which I have seen in the Western world is a concept of equity. For example, I mean, emergencies are never refused. All the hospitals, whether private or public, they're fully equipped to cater for any types of emergencies. And actually, it is written in every emergency ward that you will not be asked about your nationality, about your race, about your creed. You'll get treatment. Yes, after that, and even when they come out of the emergency situation, they are given full treatment. I mean, no doubt, medicine is very expensive abroad. They are given a very heavy bill at the end of the, but they are not refused, number one. So a concept of equity and caring for human life and caring for small things, you know, caring and sharing is must become a part of our culture, right from childhood till adulthood till we get old, because what we learn in the childhood that is with us throughout our life.
Right, absolutely, viewers. Caring is sharing, as Dr. Arooj has also touched upon. Thank you, Dr. Arooj. Thank you, Yaya, for your very important and significant points that you raised today. And viewers, we'll see you next week. But do not forget that health is wealth.
Thank you very much.
This area, with the kind of the fundamentals that it has, and with Pakistan especially, I see it as a massive opportunity for the local people here. It can create a lot of jobs and wealth while delivering on the whole focus of alleviating poverty, which is healthcare is number one in that.
Absolutely.
You know?
We have such a huge disease burden.
Exactly, and that eats up a lot of wealth. It eats people's productive years in life, and the productive years are squeezed down.
The quality of life.
Exactly. So all of these things, we need to find more effective and cost-efficient ways to do it. And that's where this can come in. So I think government's role is not to do everything for you. It's always to make things be possible for you. The rules and regulations and the unification of the baseline databases and everything, that's where government can help. So provide a level playing field for all people to get engaged and be entrepreneur and innovative.
Right.
That's how mostly successful places have done it.
Right.
They don't depend on the government to do everything. The government is there to help you clean up the landscape in the sense of providing same rules for all people to get engaged.
Right.
You know, and this is where I feel like that if that consolidation of the platforms and unified approach is identified and mandated, that would help all the providers to then focus on how can they engage in a better way. this would also help raise awareness on the patient side that I can be, help in a better way. I can lead a better quality of life because not every solution can come out of taking a pill or having an operation. We need to.
In fact, that should be the sort of one of the further on resorts. It should be, that initially we should be trying to avoid
exactly
getting into that.
Getting into that. If you have your annual health checkup, you already identify the upcoming problem, you should avoid it. There's no sense of bravery in this. This is what sometimes I feel like a lot of people do here.
No.
It won't touch me.
Okay, right. Unfortunately, we're coming to the end of the program, and it's been wonderful having you here and explaining about digital health. And it's really, really eye-opening, and so many things that you think that that would really, really be beneficial to for me as a person, for my family as well. So before we go, a quick message for our viewers.
The quick message is that health is a gift. And we should never waste it. Life is a gift, and to really take advantage of this gift, you need to make sure that you live a very healthy and happy life. But to achieve that, you have to do a lot of things.
Yeah.
And one of the things is that you need to start focusing on more innovative ways of in this environment to be a healthy, have a healthy lifestyle. So.
Right, fantastic. Dr. Ziharun, thank you very much for being a guest on today's show.
Thank you.
Okay, and that brings us to the end of today's program. Hope you have, really been able to take advantage of the information that we were getting here about digital health and how that can help you, and the benefits to be reaped from that. But at the end of the day, it is basically about you, your choices, and how you are going to lead your life. As our guest said, why wouldn't you want to lead a happy and healthy life? All it takes is commitment. So let's be committed towards making sure that we are healthy, and our family and our loved ones and our friends are healthy too. So until next week, stay happy, stay healthy. Bye-bye.